Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. As we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we'll talk about, I don't know, oh, you know what we can talk about? We can talk about the other thing which happened yesterday, which was, I mean, like, I don't mean to hype it up as like, whoa, look at this crazy thing which happened yesterday, because, I mean, of course, one of the major things which happened yesterday, which I said I was going to talk about, was the fact that some milk delivery service person came. That was a more exciting of the two. The story is considerably less exciting, but, you know, maybe it'll be a good spark of a conversation, because I don't think I've talked about this sort of thing before. My hands are kind of cold. I don't know why I just rolled up my sleeves for no apparent reason. So I'm going to use my little hand-warming pillow thing, I think, to play today. Hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow, it's 4:52 PM on Thursday, April 28th, 2022. This may not count as news. Oh, so we do have Crazy Red visiting. Bust of Nefertiti, Bust of Nefertiti. Legitimate Bust of Nefertiti, please, not a forgery. But yeah, I had some leftovers yesterday. Or was it? Yeah, I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was the day before yesterday. I honestly can't recall anymore. And one of them was just like some pork sticky rice, which I had in this like Pyrex bowl, I suppose. I mean, I'm tempted to call it Tupperware, but it's obviously not Tupperware. It's not made out of well, I suppose whatever Tupperware is as a material. It's made out of like that Pyrex sort of glass thing, you know, the things that you have like baking trays, not baking dishes, made out of and whatnot. And I was just, you know, heating up in my microwave yesterday, and then, you know, I was just like walking back the microwave when I heard a noise. I was just like, I could not tell you what that noise was like because it did not process like as a noise in my brain. I was just like, what is this very strange noise I just heard? It had kind of sound like a door slamming or something, but not quite like a door slamming, like a very weird door slamming. And I was like, what was that? And I was like, okay, well, you know, I looked around the house, was like, did anything like fall over? That's what it sounded like. I thought something fell over, so I was like, did something like fall over? And I was like, what happened? Then whatever, and then like I opened my microwave again. Lo and behold, it was in fact that Pyrex bowl which I used to heat up my leftovers, cracking straight down the middle in half. Luckily, a rather neat crack, so you know most of the food was, well, not most of the food, like all of the food was basically. But oh, that's a fake pasta Nefertiti, isn't it? I can't remember if it needs an earring or if it doesn't need an earring. You know, I've got my notepad open. And I didn't write it down, apparently. Okay, hold on. I mean, we're going to buy it anyway, probably. New Horizons art. I believe this is a fake. Because I think it doesn't need an earring. Forged statue has an earring, whereas a genuine one does not. Well, maybe I'll purchase it and it will stop being fake by the time it reaches our mailbox in some weird twist of fate in an unseen before New Horizons glitch. Yeah, it doesn't sound particularly likely, but you never know. Very annoying you are, Red. Very annoying. Can I get angry at you? You know, you got the right thing, but you know, it's my fault for not specifying I wanted a legitimate one. I think I will regret it, Red, but whatever. Tis what it is. No, what I was saying, yeah, the Pyrex bowl, like, just broken half, and, you know, it's quite disappointing, you know, because I was like, oh, this is a really nice Pyrex bowl. It's a really big one as well. It's got a nice sort of, like, patterny thing on the side. Mainly, it's just really big. So it's very convenient for, well, multi-purpose sort of things. And then, you know, I was like, I don't even know how it broke or anything. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a microwave safe bowl. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. It's not one that had like any indication beforehand that it was going to break or anything. So I don't really know what happened, but you know, I do know that of course materials expand and contract as they get heated or cool down. I'm gonna do a few hundred laps around the island. No big deal. You want to come based? And it wasn't in the fridge before, like being refrigerated, but I took it out of the fridge, you know, and I thought it basically cooled to room temperature more or less. Before I started heating it up in the microwave, but I suppose it wasn't cooled quite enough, or maybe the inside parts of it weren't. Maybe because the food itself kept it cooler than I expected, but you know, in retrospect I did only touch the sides and the lids, which I suppose probably would cool down a lot faster because they didn't have like a sink of heat next to them, I suppose. I don't know if thermodynamically that works out, but still, we're going to get you some medicine, Audie. But I was just really disappointed. You know, I know it's like a bit of a lame thing, I suppose, to be disappointed of breaking over, like, not of a Tupperware container, but of, like, a really good, like, leftovers container. But I'm just like, oh, that's a really good one as well. Why did that one have to break? I don't even know why you broke. Like, obviously, you broke because, I guess, due to internal stresses of the thing, of your structure caused by the fact that you were heated up. Well, I suppose cooled down and then heated up. And then I suppose it was fast enough that it just sort of like couldn't take the change in temperatures and the stress and it broke. And I was just like, what? It's a rare thing to happen, I suppose, with these Pyrex containers. Like, oh, don't you dare sit down. You know what? No, we had to talk to you, otherwise you stop becoming friends with us for a little bit. You spilled something on the wooden block table? I honestly couldn't tell. That'd be an interesting detail if you could actually see you got like a little stain on it or something, but alas. So, you know, luckily the bowl broke in quite, it didn't like shatter or anything. It's not made of like actual glass, I believe. It's glass is the one that completely shatters or something, while Pyrex is one which is sort of splits in two or something. And I honestly can't remember which way around it is. I'm about midway through folding A Beginner's Guide. It's such a great book. You do you, Lily. But it is disappointing, you know. I saw it snapped and I was cracked, and I was like, you know, scoop out the food, you know, didn't, you know, and I don't think there were any glass shards or anything in remnants of the food, but I didn't eat any of the food that was around the crack, just in case. I just scooped out all the other stuff instead. You might say that's a bit overly cautious, and, you know, I would probably tend to agree with you there, but, you know, caution is something which you should be probably beholden to a lot of the time, lest you end up making a mistake. And sometimes some mistakes are significantly more costly than others, and one of them, such as consuming glass shards or particles, is not something I particularly would like to happen, understandably, you know. Who'd have thunk that? Yeah, it's a bit annoying. I was like, I didn't really know what to do. Like, for a moment, I was like, I wonder if this is salvageable. I wonder if I could just like super glue it back together and it'll be fine. But I'm just like, then, you know, I had a, you know, not a moment of realization, but like I took a step back and looked at the entire thing, and I was like, it's just like a glass box. I'll just buy another one if I need another one. I've quite a few like sort of those like leftover storage boxes or whatever, because, you know, they're very convenient. Make big meals, save them for later, and, you know, and then, you know, eat them later. I suppose it's a lot easier to do a lot of mass cooking, I suppose. You know what we haven't checked out in a while is Nook Shopping to see if there's actually any limited time goods, such as the cart banner, which we have. Okay, nothing we need. I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, for a moment I was like, I wonder if I can salvage this, but I was like, just get over it. It's just a bowl. I mean, it's a nice bowl, don't get me wrong, but it's not like it was most. I don't even know where we got the bowl from, to be perfectly honest. It's sort of like just something that exists. But wait, how long have I been muted for? Did I just mute? Hold on, I need to pause and check. Okay, it seems like it's good. So it seems like we weren't really actually muted. It's just like it seemed like that if you're wondering, I'm looking at my OBS and it seemed like my microphone was muted, but it was because I hit the mute button. But I thought it happened before I even hit the mute button, so I was a little bit confused. But we're all good, don't you worry. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a box, and these boxes are like, you know, they're not dime a dozen. They're probably like dime a 1% of one, maybe, but still. It's no big deal in the end, and, you know, I tossed it in the bin. Certainly, like, you know, I did feel the pang of sadness, you know, a sort of sense of regret, which I'm I suppose not privy to, but it tends to happen when something happens, you know, and it's bad, and it feels like something that's very preventable. You know, just for a split second, I can feel myself like internally, like the me from a younger self being like, I can't believe you just done this. Oh, you know that video. I can't believe you done this. That sort of thing. That's sort of like, I rue the day that this happened. But then, you know, I'm an adult now. I just think about it a bit more, you know, reasonably. I'm just like, yeah, stuff happens. Good things, bad things, all the same. But yeah, that was a bit annoying. But it made me think back to a time in not GCSE science, actually Year 7 science, I think, where we were told about, you know, things expanding and contracting over different temperatures. Like you learn about metals, and different metals expand and contract a different amount with the same equivalent heat being put into them. And that's like how a lot of old-fashioned toasters or timers worked, was a bimetallic strip. They'd reheat up the strip, the metal strip, and the metal strip's made out of two different metals, which expand two different amounts. So, you know, when it's heated up, it starts curving off to one side because one metal expands a lot more than the other, and then as it starts cooling down, it starts like straightening out again, which, you know, completes the circuit, I suppose, again, and then, you know, the toast pops up. Something like that, and I don't really recall off the top of my head that well. But I remember that we were being told about it in I I think it was science class, I remember, because obviously you work with a lot of glass components. In science class, you work with beakers and conical flasks, you know, inert substances which have no effect and will not react with any of the chemicals that you tend to handle in, well, secondary school classrooms. And I'm sure when you get to university or research labs, you'll probably use much more dangerous materials in which glass just doesn't cut it anymore. But I don't really know because I'm not a chemist who's done that. So I forgot to buy medicine for already, didn't I? Let's go do it now. Are you two going to chat? No? I saw we haven't had two villagers chat for quite a while. But yeah, our teacher was telling us about being careful about like temperature around glass. He was being like really, if you wanted to break this, one way you could do it is you could heat up like the glass beaker until it was really hot, and then like submerge it under cold water. And obviously the rule, you know, it was sort of meant to be, oh yeah, we should buy the StarNet because we've been rocking this colourful one for a bit too long. Obviously the idea that he was trying to instill into us is the fact that after you've done with your experiment using, you know, the beaker and on top of a Bunsen burner or whatever, heating something up, you should definitely not immediately rinse it out with cold water and then put it back. If you wanted to, you know, clean it out, you got to let it cool down a little bit first before you rinse it out with cold water, because otherwise, like, you know, the tensile stress that you're going to put it under from the fact it's going to like heat and cool down far too quickly, and it's going to sort of like fracture. It's going to build up stress within the not the system, but the structure itself, I suppose, of a beaker. And then, you know, because of like the different sizes and things don't fit together or whatever, it's just gonna crack and break. And of course, you know, for some reason, when one of my classmates, he just like asked, like, if I wanted to break it, shouldn't I just toss it on the ground? And then I also, this is the sort of thing where you had to be there to actually find it funny, because I don't have a comedic chops, I think, to tell it in a very entertaining way. But the teacher just went like, what? And then the student was like, yeah, I'll just throw it on the ground. And the teacher's like, why would you throw the beaker on the ground? And he was like, well, if you want to break it, you want to throw it on the ground. And then the teacher was like, okay, so in this one specific scenario where I'm telling you that you need to break this beaker as fast as possible, okay, instead of heating it up and cooling it on the ground, it would be faster just to throw it on the ground. And that memory just sort of like lives rent free in my brain for no apparent reason. Until I told you today. Now be honest, Mountain, what do you think of all this selfie business? I know, selfies are all the rage. Still, it's not my cup of tea. I mean, really, standing there taking a photo of yourself. How gosh. Of course, sweetheart, if you were to offer to take my photo, well, I'd have no choice but to say yes. Just make sure it looks as if I took it myself, darling. I'm sure you understand. Vivian, there's nothing wrong with a good selfie. I like selfies. Well, actually, you know, I say I take selfies all the time. I do take selfies quite a lot, but not often of just myself. Normally it's if I'm at a place or if I'm with someone, I'll take a selfie, but selfie. I take a lot of photos a lot of time, like when I'm out with friends and that sort of thing. That's just who I am. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Pyrex, I suppose, in glass containers? Heating, glass thermodynamics, I don't really know. Yeah, anyway, it's a very important lesson to learn, I suppose, if you do any of these sort of practical science classes. About working with beakers and Bunsen burners and that sort of thing, and heating up chemicals inside these containers. You should be very careful what you let heat up and cool down. Like metal, you can heat up and then you can run underwater. I wouldn't recommend it, I think, most of the time. I think it does put like stress on the thing, but you know, at worst it will probably just deform the metal rather than particularly like exploding in your hands or anything, or cracking or being particularly dangerous. But glass is very dangerous if you know, heat something up too much or heat it up and cool it down. And actually, this brought back another memory. When I did A-level chemistry, one of the first lessons I ever had, I was working with, you know, this other guy, and there was this pairing of another one of my friends, who I talk to now and then. It's been a while since I last caught up with him, so who really knows. Him and some other guy, you know, someone who was actually new to the school, if I recall. He moved into the sixth form during that time. We're doing this experiment. This experiment was of a nighttime island. It was a very simple one, if I remember. I think it was some distillation experiment where we reacted to something in like one of those bulbous flasks, I can't remember, on a retort stand, and it went through like a condensation tube into something. We were trying to collect some product. I honestly don't really record off the top of my head. And then I remember just like we're doing an experiment. It's going particularly fine for us. Like I'm not going to be like we're doing amazing or anything, but it's just going normally. And then we just hear like a huge crack of like an explosion sounding noise like right next to me. Because we were on a table. There was like 6 of us to a table, and it was in like a U shape or something. I was like in the middle of the table with my partner, and then those two were like on the right. And just like a huge like crack, and it was very violent. And it actually like almost made me jump. I just sort of went like, what was that? And then there it was. The bulbous bulb had cracked. I don't know exactly how. I think it was because they heated it up, and then it like cooled down a bit too much, and they heated it up again, and then that stress it put itself under, just sort of like fractured it in the end, which can't particularly recommend as being a very good idea if you want to actually do the science experiment properly. Let's see if this is a new. No, it's not a new recipe. Never mind, it is. I thought we had a rocket. Oh, maybe we only have a space shuttle. I don't remember. Let's find the other rock though. We might want to customise the shovel. I think it's been a while since we customised it. We've hit quite a few rocks of it, so we're going to do it just before it breaks. What's I going to say? Yeah, so that happened. And I remember the guy who was new to the school or whatever, kind of panicked. Because, once you're in a sick form, you actually start having to pay for equipment you end up damaging, if I recall. Because the equipment you're working with is now a lot more expensive. Like the beakers are very cheap that you work with back in GCSE or whatever, but now you're actually working with like specialised tools and bulbous flasks or whatnot or what have you. So if you actually start breaking something, then you actually have to replace it. To my memory, I don't think I broke anything during my time in A-level chemistry. I'm trying to think if I did. Did I break anything? I might have broke something. I wouldn't put it past me. Oh, I think I broke a couple of test tubes before, but the test tubes are also tubes. I don't remember having to pay for them. Or maybe that's his favouritism. I can't say for certain. But anyway, yeah, and I remember, like, one of the craziest things. Everyone was just like, "Oh, what happened? What's going on?" But he didn't really know what to do. So I remember he started like he was started to pick up the shattered glass like bulbous flask things and just put them in his hand. At the time, I was just like, huh? What are you doing? Didn't really realise what was going on. But of course, if I do it, so right now, I'd just be like, stop, what are you doing? You're going to cut your hand. 1, you could cut your hand. 2, you would just, 1, you could cut your hand, that sharp glass. 2, that was hot glass as well, you might burn your hand. 3, we were just working with but possibly corrosive agents or something. That could be a very bad irritant for your hand, especially if you have a combination of cutter, irritating it with, a corrosive substance and then burning your hand immediately afterwards. But the teacher did it anyway. He was like, stop! He didn't say it quite like that, but it was quite a grand stop. I mean, he was like, use a dustpan and brush or whatever. Like, don't touch it, etc., etc., or something. And I suppose that also lives rent-free in my mind for no apparent reason. Anyway, the other guy who, the one in that pair was actually one of my good friends. And I remember talking to him about it like not years down the line, but like in the year after or something. Because we were in year 12 when that happened. That was in lower sixth form, and then when in upper sixth form, I remember him talking about it. And he was actually a little bit annoyed, if I recall. He blamed the other guy for like doing something which ended up with it burning, and I can't exactly remember what off the top of my head. But at the time I did hear it and be like, oh yeah, it does sound like something a little bit reckless. The other guy, by the way, is a completely nice guy. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean this to be shade at him. I don't even remember his name very well. But I remember what he looks like. Plus, anyway, we weren't very close friends or anything. We were just like, we just knew each other because of that class. He was a nice guy, all things considered. Just, we just made a mistake on the first day of chemistry class. And because of, the not the tensile strengths, but then I don't even know what sort of property it would be called. But there's probably a name for it. Heating glass and cooling it down and having it break. Excuse me, I'm trying to open up a new instance of Firefox, please. Don't do it in front of OBS. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Empty hands. Look up at the sky. We can wish for stars one-handed. Heat. Glass. Cool. Down. Break. Such like a real human being. Why does hot glass break when it comes in contact with cold water? No. Thermal fracturing in glass. Wow. It's got a whole Wikipedia article for it. Thermal fracturing in glass occurs when a sufficient temperature differential is created within the glass. As warmed areas expand or cool areas contract, stress forces develop, potentially leading to fracture. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm trying to think. Has there been any other things which I've broken glass things before? Like I've knocked over a wine glass before and have it shattered. I was like, oh god, didn't mean for that to happen. What else have I broken before? I can't say I've broken all that much. I tend to keep quite a tight grip on things. So I tend to be quite paranoid over things breaking. But you know, when the microwave breaks, well, not when the microwave breaks it. I mean, I'm the one who put it in the microwave and set it in for the microwave in the first place. But you know, when it goes through an extra layer, such as using through the microwave, it's sort of just like a, oh, what can I do about it? You know. I've probably dropped something before. I can't think of something I've dropped before though. Oh, I just have this fantastic story of one of my friends. So basically, for one of our other friends' birthdays, another mutual friend's birthdays, we were baking him a cake, and then over at my house baking a cake or whatever, and I was like teaching him, and telling. Well, I'm going to say teaching. It was more like guiding him. I wasn't really teaching him. I have the most experience out baking out of the three of us who were doing it, but we had a lot of cakes to bake, and I was baking one cake, and Bosie were baking the other cake, and I was basically telling them to like we had these old manual set of scales, like the really big ones with the dial, the analog scales or whatever. And I was like, okay, you can weigh the things on that. Just like put the things in this like metal tray, which you can put on top. Otherwise, you won't have anything to put on, because if you don't have that metal tray to actually weigh things on, it's just basically like this crossbar of like two metal things, which is like, it can't really support a bowl or anything. It's not designed to support a bowl. It's designed to support the metal tray which came with it. And then they were weighing things out or whatever, and I was just like, okay, make sure you put things on the metal tray on the scale. Like, don't put things directly on it like a bowl or whatever, because it'll probably fall off. And then one of my other friends, he just goes, "No, I'm sure it'll be fine, but yeah, no, it'll be okay." And I was like, "Okay, as long as you can balance it properly, I'm sure it'll be fine. Just be careful." And then I turn away, and then not but 3 seconds later, I hear a crash behind me, and I turn back to see a broken bowl, load of flour all over the counter. One of my friends pointing and laughing at the other friend, who has scrunched up his eyes and has slowly turned towards me. And at that moment, it's very easy for me to just be like, "Why did you do that? I just told you." But I actually just laughed because it was very funny. It's one of my favourite memories, I suppose, of that time, I suppose. Just like, me being like, "Don't put the bowl directly on the scales," and being like, "It's okay, it'll be fine." And then him being like, "Look, you can do it like this," and then it immediately breaking. And then him just like scrunching up his eyes like a child about to be told off by his mother, being like, "If I don't see it, it can't hurt me." And then the other friend just laughing like like a sibling, being like, "Oh, you're in trouble now." Obviously, he wasn't in trouble, but he was very apologetic, obviously, because we're friends. He didn't obviously mean for that to happen, and we're friends. I forgave him. It's not really not that big an infraction in the first place. It's pretty funny though. Anyway, that's not a story about me. That's a story about one of my friends, to be honest, breaking something. What have I broken before? I'm trying to think. I must have like shattered like a bowl or something before. I can't really think of a time. Like, apart from this time, and I broke that Pyrex bowl. And the time before, I knocked over a wine glass, and I broke that. I can't think of a time I've actually broken another thing. That can't be true. I wish this is a thing where we had like a stats page. I could just like pull it up and look at my like universal statistics or this sort of thing, and just look down and see like cups broken, plates broken, or something like that. I must have broken something before, but I really can't think of a time I have. Which is a bit of a shame, because it's kind of put a stopper to this entertaining series of stories. And by entertaining, I mean series of stories, full stop. I'm not sure if test tubes in chemistry count, because that happens quite a lot more frequently than you might imagine. Because some of the test tubes, sometimes they get put under like thermal stress or something by the last people who use them, but you can't really tell just by observing them. Sometimes they have small cracks which you don't notice, and when they heat up and they break, and sometimes you just break them naturally because they're kind of small, like fragile, not fragile things, but they're small, they're brittle, it's glass. It just be like that sometimes. I must have broken something. Like, I mean, dinnerware, that sort of thing. I don't know, I've probably broken other things in my life, but it's a bit hard to think of them off the top of my head. I don't really know. TBH. I can't think of anything. I feel like I've broken a bowl, but I don't remember how I've broken a bowl. if I have broken a bowl. So maybe there's no interesting story to go along with it. Because, you know, with these sort of things, I tend to be rather cautious, really cautious. So if something's even mildly hot, I'll just be like, okay, I'm going to put on the other gloves anyway, you know, even if it's only just been in the microwave for a little bit. Put on the other gloves, it's too hot, I don't want to burn my fingers or something, or just, you know, risk picking it up, being like, oh, it's not too hot, and then, like, I'm holding it for too long, being like, ow, it's actually really hot, and then just dropping it. Or, you know, and try and keep a solid grip on things when I can, you know. I'm the sort of person to be like, okay, you know, I could either do one trip, precariously balancing everything to try and carry it to this other location, or I could just do the reasonable thing and just do 2 trips. I will always do 2 trips, that sort of thing. There's no point in doing one sort of trip. Like, I mean, I suppose you could argue you lose your pride or something, you know. Oh, you're sleeping, let's not disturb you. But, you know, I don't have a sense of pride of being like, oh, look at me, I can carry all these things. Like, I mean, I suppose if I was like a restaurant waitress or something, then maybe I'd be a bit more like not cautious about that song, but I'd care about that sort of thing a bit more because, you know, time is efficiency and time is money. It kind of makes a bit more sense for me to, you know, get a big old tray of things and carry a load of things over to, you know, the busing stations or whatever. But I'm not if I'm just cooking for myself or whatever. I will take the time to just be careful, you know. Like it happened university when I was cooking, you know, one trip, take all my saucepans and stuff back to my room. You might be like, why didn't you keep them in the kitchen? I don't remember why I didn't keep them in the kitchen, to be perfectly honest. Why didn't I keep... No, in one of them, like it was a communal kitchen shared by a lot of people. I didn't want other people using it because I wanted to use it myself. It turns out basically no one else used the kitchen, but I just kept it in my room because it was easy. Yeah, I think I just did it because it was easier. Than keeping it in the kitchen. Was it easier? I'm not really sure. Yeah, even in later years, I just kept it under my bed. No, I'm not really sure why I did that necessarily than keeping it in the kitchen. You know, it probably was because of limited space in the kitchen. I'd rather keep the food in the kitchen than keep the pots and pans with me in my room. I think that's probably the reason I did. I don't really remember. It's been a while. But yeah, you know, one trip back to my room with my pots and pans, another trip to carry my food back. If I need another trip carrying my other stuff back, then I will do. But, you know, otherwise, just take the safe route, you know. You don't need to take unnecessary risks. You might be like, oh, you can carry everything at once. And sure, you probably can most of the time. But, you know, you got to weigh up those sort of factors. The inconvenience of having to every time walk, like, 20 more meters in total, compared to the absolutely devastating time of dropping all your food or dropping something and having it shatter. you got to weigh it up, you know. I'd rather walk 20 more meters each time I cook than risk that chance of me dropping all the food. Because me dropping all the food and ruining dinner, ruining those bowls or whatever for that day is going to upset me significantly more than having to walk 20 meters extra. At least that's how I see things. You know, other people have way around. They'll be like, oh, 20 meters every single time. That's like so much unnecessary. The fact I had to do it every single time is more of a drain. I'd rather take a risk of me perhaps dropping everything and, you know, just hope it doesn't happen. Fair enough. Everyone's got different sort of re-evaluations of risk assessment and that sort of thing. And that's, you know, the world don't move to the beat of one drum. Everyone's got their own different values and opinions on these sort of things. You just got to evaluate for yourself which one, you know, suits, which one fits you the best. And that's the one which fits best for me. So yeah, anyway, the long and short of it is I tend not to drop things, I think, in the kitchen. I mean, I'll gladly refute that if I can think of a time I've dropped something in the kitchen and it broke. I've probably dropped things before, but, you know, I've dropped things like wooden spoons and it's like, that doesn't really matter. Or like a metal fork, in which case, you know, you just go wash it, or just go grab another fork and use that as your cutlery implement instead. I'm sure it's happened, I just can't really think of a time off the top of my head. I guess they're not particularly formative memories. And that's probably the reason why. We're going to go talk to Fauna to see if we can actually give her a present. And if we can't, then we can't. You know, Fauna just won't get a present today. So be it. You know, that was her decision in the end. Not really. She just kind of... Do not sit down. Don't... Why? You like this, Fauna? I don't know what dance I did today. What was it? I like baking apple cake. I love making fresh squeezed apple juice too, dearie. Lately, I've been researching lots of delicious sounding apple recipes. The next time I try one out, I hope you can be my taste tester. Is it this way round? Fauna has a soft voice and Lily has a slightly raspy voice? I think so. Fauna has the airy voice and Lily has the raspy voice, and Vivian has Amelia has the deeper voice and Vivian has the higher voice, for the villagers with the same personalities. Anyway, we're going to round off this episode here, I think, as we pick up this weed. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join my Dear Darling Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.